Hello, and welcome to the MentorDINO podcast. I'm your host, Katelyn Rosier. I am an architect and founder of MentorDINO. Join me each week as I speak with amazing professionals in and around the architecture, engineering, and construction industry, as we are all part of a larger interconnected community. We discuss everything from career stories, lessons learned, and advice for others finding their own unique career path. Thank you to all of our current subscribers, and if you're new, welcome to the conversation. And if you like this episode, please do me a favor by hitting subscribe, like, or share it with a friend. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support them on their own unique career journey. On this episode of the MentorDINO podcast, I want to focus on a part of the name of MentorDINO, and that's mentoring. I get so many questions on how to find a mentor, how to be a mentor, and everybody keeps saying, go get one. How do you find one? And it's not so easy to be able to answer that question. Mentors come from all sorts of avenues. I always advocate having multiple mentors because you can look at the concept of having somebody above you to look up to you, somebody below you that you're bringing up, and a peer that you can adjust and see what's going on in their world versus your own. You can also look at mentors as somebody in your office and doing similar roles, or somebody look up to, and somebody outside your office in that same kind of manner, and then somebody in a completely different industry. So there's different layers and nuances to mentorship and what you need at the time. And mentors come and go. The formality or informality of mentorship is also there as well. Some of the people that I have as mentors may not even know that they're a mentor for me, whereas other ones, it is a little bit more of a regular check-in. Sometimes it was a check-in and now it's pulled back. So I wanted to dive in on that mentorship topic because I've had a number of conversations over season 1 about mentoring and what that meant for the guest I was speaking to at the time, whether it is their own growth and experience, what they have experienced throughout their career, or helping others along their journey. And another important part to make is not everybody is suited to be a good mentor, and that is okay too. So you may be looking to improve your mentorship skills. You may be saying, I am just not a good mentor, and that is okay too. And sometimes if you're just not a good mentor, if you can at least be that person to connect that individual to somebody else that would be a better fit, that is being a mentor to them. So I want to go through a couple episodes and highlights different avenues so you can hear mentorship from different angles. I want to go back to episode number 8 for this first one. And this one was with Alexandra Chaves. She is a project manager at Restructure Studios down in Austin, Texas. And we talk about mentorship and how you never know the people that you are going to meet and where it's going to lead you in the end. So her current boss, she actually met at a different event, and down the line became an opportunity for her to grow in her career, and has been a great advocate and supporter for her along her career journey and being able to join that business. We also talk about being from a different country and what that means as well. So that creates this other nuanced layer that, for me, I am from the United States. I don't need that nuance layer in my initial education, but I have found speaking to foreign architects and those that have come from other countries has really helped give me empathy for what other people are experiencing and doing, and giving me more understanding. So as much as somebody may not be a mentor, it's always good to learn from others. So let's jump into Alexandra Chaves's clip. And again, she is episode number 8. So if you want to go back and take a look at her full episode, go ahead and jump to that. And I know Restructure is a small firm. Do you have advice for other people in small firms that may need to look outside their office to find mentors?
Yes. Why not? Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I have Karina as my mentor, but I feel like that's what I got involved into the AIA, wherever I was. I did the AIAS when I was in college in SCAD in Savannah. And that's how I led. And then from there, I went to New York. I did get involved a little bit with the AIA New York, and not as much as I'd been involved here in Austin. But yeah, always getting in, again, for me, when I got involved with women in architecture, specifically in the AIA Austin, was just pre-pandemic. And one of the first thoughts that I wanted is like, besides knowing who are the chair and co-chair for every committee, because they always are, that's who you see front face. It's like the president. But there's all these people behind it that always makes it run. Because again, a president doesn't run the country by himself. There's all these committees, and the same thing happens in every single committee that you join. So to me, one of the things that I wanted to know is like, who are the people who volunteer? Who are the sponsors that want to sponsor these committee? Who are the leaders? So that's when I approach WIA, and at the current time it was Jess Deaver running it, and she had a film background on it. And one of the things that I approached her, I was like, we need to do videos of who are these people. We need to interview them. And it went to a different thing, and that's how the Profiles video interview series for women in architecture was founded, which I founded with my husband. And we go and interview women leaders around the community, and we have been getting names and names, and now we're building up a list of things. And then that's what I would say, mentors I have found new mentors, and I have been able to pair people with mentors that they needed because of that interviews and that interest, like conversations about, you can have mentors in your office, but it's always good to see what else is in your community that might benefit you in your career path. So it doesn't mean that, in a residential firm, in a small firm, you can only find mentors in your firm. You always should look for local chapters, look like places like Immigrants, Architects Coalition, Architina, all of these people, no matter where they are, they can mentor you remotely, and you can still get to where you want to be in your career path because of that possibility. So,
yeah. And with the Austin profile videos you guys do, I've listened to some of them. I need to binge watch a bunch more because they're fun to listen to. How do you find what to focus in on for those interviews?
Yeah, well, the first year we focused on diversity because there was a topic on the TXA panel where they were discouraging women that only men were the one who do it. And so the chair at the time, she said, no, this is going to be the topic. And my idea was I wanted to interview the leaders, meaning like I want to interview the co-chair and chair. Why are they doing WIA? I wanted to interview the sponsors, like whoever sponsored our committee at the time, but it became completely different. It evolved to what it is today. So in Kira Giles, she said, no, we're doing diversity, and the topic of diversity is very important. So they need to know that, yes, you need to have diverse offices, and not only run by men, it run by women, and it runs by many people of color. Doesn't matter your gender, skin, or or whatever ideals you have in your head. And that's how it started. So the first year was only the topic of diversity, and we crossed paths. We went to Houston, we went to San Antonio, we went to Dallas, and we interviewed people in Austin. And then the next year we just focused on Austin, and it was inspiration. It was always one word topic. And I was like, what are we going to do? I feel like we can keep going to diversity, but I feel like after the pandemic, I think diversity was already exploded on its own levels nationally, and not only in the architectural world. But so I said inspiration. So that's how we dictated it. And I'd been looking for interesting topics and questions to ask all of the women leaders that my husband and I have been lucky to interview. And each year we kind of rotate the questions and find new ones that are current to whatever situation our profession is in. Like, the new way of like being inclusive design, even though inclusive design has never been a topic before or a word itself. I feel like we always have inclusive design, but it's more of an awareness nowadays. So yeah, that's how it has evolved. And from word of mouth, I've been getting emails. You should interview this people. You should interview this other person. So
I know what that's like.
I know, right? I guess you're firsthand. You're getting it yourself.
Yeah, slowly getting there. I'm just always impressed. You guys can get it down to like nice, really short clips that are really impactful. And so don't let him see my video editing skills because I'm learning. I've never done video editing before October, maybe end of September. So I've only done 1 month, and then I just bug people that know how to video edit. I'm like, okay, I'm sure you can do this. How? And so much just like learning on the fly.
I know. Yeah, no. Yeah. I think he's the magic hands. My husband, Gustavo Bernal, I just love him. And he has a magic for how when he's already in an interview, I think he's already like editing the video in his mind, and he gets home and he downloads it, even though he doesn't start editing right there. But he's like, okay, they said this and this and that. And they just like piecemeal it.
Yeah. Already has a plan.
I know he has a plan. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's hone in on the AIA Austin WEAD chapter, because you guys are doing so much in that local chapter. I keep debating on buying a t-shirt, even though I'm not in Austin, because you guys are so inspirational. Can you tell me more about what you're doing in the Austin chapter?
Oh my God. Yes. It's so much. And thankfully I just came in that's why I was just a couple of minutes late. I was just doing my first meeting as the co-chair elect. It was the last time for Karina to do it. My boss, she is the outgoing chair. And then Ashton Brooks, which I know you recently interviewed her as well.
Yeah.
She is now the chair. So yeah, we were having the meeting just 3 to plan what our next monthly agenda is. So yeah, we have a lot of programming. We have the college, the call to action initiative, which it breaks out in a lot of things. It's called call to action because they have college, high school, licensure, motherhood in there. So, and throughout the year, we do different programming for it. One of them goes to like trying to, in the high school level, get groups to either attend art site tours so they get interest with the profession, come to the classroom and talk about architecture. Then at the college level, we started doing the salon series that we're doing now virtually. We always have done it virtually. I think this is the 3rd year we do it. And we always try to target local colleges, even though we have gotten, this year we got students from California that joined. And last year I had a couple of students from Savannah because I promoted there, because I guess everybody can benefit from it, even if you're or not. So yeah, it's specific to that college salon series. And we also are doing a scholarship for women in the UT School of Architecture. We give scholarship. Last year was the first year we started. We gave it to a graduate and an undergrad. And this year we gave it to 3 people. Then the motherhood panel, when May comes along, there's just a motherhood panel. It always is virtual too, because again, we're all moms. Sometimes we're busy. We can get to point A to point B, and it has worked magic that we'll always had it. And that happened through the pandemic. I think one of the things that the Austin chapter grew was because we were craving for our meetings, and not only our monthly meetings were enough. So we started doing happy hours virtually. We started doing virtual site tours, which my husband and I did. That's when the profiles video series started too. We were just spotlighting the leaders in the community. Then what was the other thing that we were doing that was virtual? I think that was it. And then from there, it had snowball. So the site tours no longer are virtual. Now they're in person. And they're by project-led women, not only architects, but it could be engineer, landscape architecture, whoever, ADA consultants, any of them could be part of it. We used to have dinner series pre-pandemic, and we just brought those back about different topics. This year was pretty much an extension of the profiles. Everybody wanted to, like, they've been these are such good little clips, but I wanted to hear more.
Yeah.
So it was a more sit down, dinner series where we were able to ask each of the profile ladies, and we were lucky enough that we got everybody besides one that could join us. So we were able to have that conversation live, and people could ask questions. So that was it. And then what else do we have going on?
So is the dinner series like a panel type discussion where then it's more live?
It's a panel discussion live, but then you come in, you mingle, there's drinks, there's food, and then there's a paneling session that you sit down and you have a whole program in like at least an hour or so that we're like having a live discussion in person. What else do we have? We have, well, of course, the profile video series that those are get scattered throughout the year. This year also, besides giving scholarship for the students, we started doing scholarship for licensure. Whoever needs help with the licensure, but our scholarship is not only specific for books. If you need to pay rent, if you need childcare because you need to study, it's for anything. Just apply, and that could be an opportunity to you, because who knows what your situation is in order for you to get to study. So we started doing that one. And then another like kind of grant that we're giving is here in Austin. They always have homes tours in October. There's a weekend in October where they open homes of architects that apply to the AIA Homes Tour. And some of them are being designed by women. And now there is one of our sponsors that is now sponsoring specifically the women-owned firms to be part of the tour, because you have to pay money. You have to get ready. You have to get cleaners. You have to get landscape. This house needs to look like it's on a magazine, even though there's people lived in it. So we started doing that as well, just to support, especially the sole proprietary and small business women, that it, like a place like Restructure Studio would fit in that bracket if we applied to be part of the tour. And what else do we have? Happy hours for many things. Either you're a mother or you're an emerging profession. We had a happy hour for headshots. People needed headshots, and we just So that's a little bit of the summary. I feel the list is still long, and we always encourage people to like go to conferences, speak at conferences. We try to give shout outs whoever has like either have a big life event or whatever, a promotion in their company, because we try to do that. But the WIA programming keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. And next year.
What got you interested in going for chair and being more on that kind of leadership role within the committee?
I think it has to do with that advocacy. I started to try to advocate more for myself. And I was like, why, if I started this, why can I lead this group of women for 2 years? Again, there will be other ones that will come behind me, like many have come before me. But I think that's what it was. I wanted to advocate for the profession. I wanted to be a Latina, that it's part of the women in architecture, and try to help pair people for what we're the same things that we're here, empower, learn, support, all of it. So that's what it got to me. I was like, if I can do it on the profile series, maybe I can do it for the whole 2 years in all these different various programmings that we have.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, but we couldn't do it without our subcommittee supporters. Besides Ashton and I, we like I'm a subcommittee chair. There's many subcommittee chairs within ourselves because otherwise it's way too much.
Welcome back. This time I want to jump into introducing you to an engineer, Louis Duque. He was episode number 18, and he has a podcast called Engineering Our Future. So he is more of a bridge engineer, and we had such a great topic on mentorship and what podcasting has done for us in meeting professionals around the industry. But what's so important about his story is the way he named his small business and his podcast, and it's Engineering Our Future, because there's so much learning and growth in the AEC industry. It is impossible to know everything. It is impossible to be an expert in everything, which is why so many professionals have little niches, but then even every day you're learning something new. So that was an important component to him helping other professionals on their career journey on the engineering side. But the same thing applies to construction, architecture, design, planning, so many different facets. It's always about learning, always about growing, and you will always have something new to learn. So let's jump over to Louis's clip. And again, he was episode number 18. If you want to check out his full episode or his whole podcast, Engineering Our Future. So I hope you guys enjoy this clip.
I've been volunteering with ASE for a long time, and I usually get questions from international students mainly on how to come to the US, how to apply for jobs, how to craft a resume, all these things that we are not really taught in school. And I just thought it would be interesting to have a platform where I can talk to other engineers that I have figured out and learn from them. And honestly, I was learning as much as anyone else listening to the podcast. So it was kind of a win-win for everyone. I started in 2020. In 2021 is kind of when I started to get a little more serious on it. And the website came to be a little better. I started doing some courses to prepare for the PE and the FE exam, just based on my experience. And some things kind of popped from there, some coaching and some other stuff. But mainly has been a way for me to share what I'm learning, talk with other engineers, and hopefully just share some of this information that I think is really cool to share with others, how career development works. I'm sure in 5-10 years, I'll be talking about other things as my career progresses. And I think that's kind of why I wanted to name it Engineering Our Future, because I am kind of part of the process of learning this as well. I'm not trying to help other people to do it themselves. It's just sharing my experience, talk with other people, and hopefully everyone as a community can grow together.
Yeah, no, because that's what I love about talking to people. And I reach out to everyone in the AEC industry. So I love learning. Like, I've learned so much on being a bridge engineer that a year ago, I probably would have had no idea I was going to be talking to you. So
yeah, and the best part is when I mean, you probably have noticed this. You're sitting in your office, your bedroom, wherever you record your podcast and everything. And you record something you think is great, you put it out, people listen to it, but you never really hear much beyond that. And sometimes I feel lonely. And when I started going back to conferences, it was really cool when people would approach me like, oh, hey, I listened to your podcast. It's pretty cool. I listened to this episode and really found it interesting. Here's what I learned. I'm like, okay, I feel like isolated, but at the same time, when I go to these places, I meet people that listen to the podcast and enjoy it. And that's really the best feeling you can get when you're doing something like this.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, because, I'm in my office, but it's not until I go out to different industry events and like locally people know who I am. But I was at a conference up in Boston and they were like, oh, you're the dino girl. And I'm like, oh, marketing works. Like, everybody knows me for my dinosaur guy. So it works for me. But then finding out, like, conversations, I did a series on my YouTube channel, What an Architect Does, based on different design phases. And I actually had product reps reach out to me and say, thank you. This is actually really helpful so we can understand how you work. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was teaching like students in architecture on what we do and not knowing how many different facets and other people discover it is kind of fun, but you never know.
The beauty of just putting information out there. You never know who you're going to reach. And honestly, the opportunities that come with it, it's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. And meeting people around the country, I think, is probably the other part of podcasting that's been really fun. And just, I've talked to people in a number of different states.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, one of the things that I tell students is just growing the network and making sure you're connecting with other people. And the amount of people I know through the podcast, because I was honestly a little afraid, but not too afraid to ask them to come to the podcast, has been amazing. And I still stay in touch with a lot of people that I have interviewed. When I go to conferences, people know that I have a podcast, and they try to share with other people at the conference. I've been invited to be part of committees. I was invited to go to a conference last year for the podcast. Things are the things that open for you when you start sharing that information and just being more out there, talking to people. And you don't have to have a podcast to talk to someone on LinkedIn and network and everything. But if you do it more, you're going to start expanding the network, and you never know when you're going to need it. Even if they're outside your industry, you never know when that person can help you find your next job, your next connection, help you in something in your career. So I enjoy networking as much as an engineer can enjoy it, I should say. I am very introverted still, but I understand the purpose and the benefit of doing some good networking.
Yeah. Or even just being a guest on a podcast, or if there's someone that I talk to that's fascinating or that you talk to, you can always reach out to either one of us and we can give you their contact information. Everyone I've had on has just been very open. If anybody wants to ask any additional questions or find out more, they've all been open books to help somebody find their path.
Yeah, and I've had people come back to the podcast. I met some great friends through it, and just the other day I was talking with a guy called Jeff Perry. I don't know if you've seen him on LinkedIn. He just released a book called Intentional Engineering. I think I had it somewhere here. I was reading it the other day. He sent me a copy. We chatted about it. We had a lot of fun, and I met him through LinkedIn and see him on LinkedIn, ask him to call to the podcast. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine, I think 2 or 3 times at this point. But that's how you create those connections. Mm-hmm. You just talk to people, and honestly, just being interested in what others are doing as well. Like I'm not the greatest communicator. I don't know. Public speaking is probably not my thing, even though I have been doing a podcast for a few years now and it got a lot better. But I can tell you who in the industry is a great public speaker, who has a lot of skills in that. And I can go talk to them and learn more about that specific skill if I'm trying to learn something.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know you've also had experience with Engineers Without Borders. Can you explain what you did with that and what opportunities are over there?
Yeah, so Engineers Without Borders, if you're not familiar with it, is a nonprofit organization, I think based in Denver, if I remember correctly. They have projects globally. They have different offices abroad as well. Their main purpose is just to bring, I think most of the projects are safe drinking water projects, but they're projects as simple as just building maybe a little house for someone in a community, or as large as like a school in a community that has been maybe devastated, don't have a system. But most of the projects, I believe a good quantity is just water problems, which is a huge problem, obviously, in the world.
Welcome back. And this time I want to take a different approach on mentoring in terms of learning from your experiences and being able to pivot and make some leaps because of it. So this one, I want to introduce you guys to Mandy Freeland. She is an architect out in California, and she was episode number 19. She had some unique experiences, to say the least, to start out with some challenges on being a young female in the architecture industry and not having many female mentors around to support her. And so that led her to starting her own firm and being very proud and advocating for women in architecture and her area of the country, as well as AIA California. She also teaches part-time and able to give back and mentor in that way. So there's a lot of different nuances that can be done outside of a traditional firm. Or if you feel you can start your own firm, don't feel like you can't mentor anybody because you don't have a direct staff person underneath you, or you're not part of a large organization with people all around you. It is about surrounding yourself with professionals in different ways and how you can leverage organizations like the AIA or teaching at a local university and getting involved in other ways to be able to give back and mentor differently. And you can also look at this as an approach if you are looking for a mentor and maybe there's just not a good fit within your office. Maybe there is not a licensed female architect that you can look up to internally, then go find one. There are plenty out there ready to help you. So let's jump to Mandy's clip so you can learn a little bit more about her story. And her episode again was number 19 if you want to learn more about her entire journey. What's the best advice you've given the professional that's starting on their own and doing 1099 for you?
Let's see. Well, one of the questions that comes up that isn't taught while you're working as an employee in firms is how to get the work. Like, no one ever teaches you how to get the work because that's the secret sauce of the firm owners, right? That's their magic. That's how they do it. And sometimes maybe more traditionally minded firm owners are not open to teaching their younger staff how to do that. So that's one of the first things that I talk about is you need to understand the market. And this comes also with the work that I did in communications and public relations, but understand the audience and look at it that way. How are they getting their information? So look at your potential clients. How do they get their information? How do they find you or other architects? What are their biggest obstacles or hurdles or challenges in reaching out to you? Make it easy for them to say yes. So one of my biggest things that I tell kind of everybody is whatever you're doing, if you need, make it easy for them to say yes, to hire you. So relieve their stress, relieve their, if they are scared to talk to architects, make the phone call. It took a lot of courage for them to reach out to you. Do the courtesy of answering the call and making them feel more comfortable, because I just in my own experience, I think that the architects that I worked for were kind of not the most friendly when it came to cold calls or people, calling out of the blue looking for someone to help them. So yeah, that's what I do is I kind of teach how to choose the projects. You can be a generalist architect and you can do everything under the sun, any kind of project, but what do you want to do? And go for those clients. Or what do you want to learn? And, do what you know, and then do the bulk of your work in what you know. And then the stuff that you want to learn how to do, just kind of feather it in a little at a time and learn it and then add it to your services.
Yeah, that's great advice because then you'd be overloaded learning.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And your bank account is dependent on you.
Yeah.
So you don't need that kind of pressure. So keep the money coming in. And then when you're good to introduce the new service as a full-fledged service, then do it.
On the teaching side, what are you teaching as an adjunct professor?
Okay, so I'm at my community college, and we had a happy change at our community college. Our architecture students, the number of students doubled this last year. So they had to go find new teachers, and there aren't enough people out here in our community that can teach or are willing to teach. So they reached out to me and asked if I could teach. And so this is my second semester teaching. We just started last night, was our first class of the next semester. So I'm still new to teaching. And I tell my students, I am an architect, not a teacher. So be patient because I'm still figuring this out too. So I teach hand drawing for first year students. So what we do is kind of more on the art side, hand drawing, isometrics, perspectives, shade and shadow, that kind of stuff. That's what we did first semester. And then second semester, we are learning architectural history and working in hand drawing, recreating pieces from the architectural history. We also, and we're doing color. Color is a big part of this semester's course. So it's almost like before we could do renderings in software, we did them by hand. So it's teaching them how to do it by hand, but also how to get the conceptual thoughts out on paper, which I think is one of the most important skills for architects, is to get it out on paper and make it make sense to you on paper and to the client on paper before you get it in the computer.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing that I do want to keep in our industry, it's that pen to paper action. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of programs jump right into programs, or they just do diagrams and sketching. I know I still did hand drawings through the end of second year, and then we were moving more digital, or it was a mix. I think that last semester, like, we still had to have a hand chunk hand drawn, which I remember meticulously, like, draw everything in a pencil, and then I want to go over it with marker, and you're worried about messing things up. But no, it's refreshing to hear that you're doing all the hand drawings and going through that, because that's one of the things that I got interested in architecture. And everybody nowadays, when I see them come out of school, it's just like, okay, you just did the big, like, rendering stuff, and then who knows what AI did? What did you actually do? What can you create? But I wouldn't discount yourself as you're not a teacher, because I don't know really any architecture professor that got an education degree. I feel so many studio professors, they're just grabbing people from the architecture community around them to teach, regardless if it's studio or materials class or computer drafting. Yeah. Like, they're pulling around them. So it's not like, I don't know, K through 12, where you go to school to be a teacher to learn how to teach a subject. It's very different.
My students are mostly, they're mostly fresh out of high school. So it's just kind of sharing with them, hey, I'm not actually like one of your high school teachers.
Exactly.
I didn't go to school, and I don't do training on how to be a better teacher. I'm doing my best, just, but I don't know. I like it a lot. It's rewarding and it's fun. Yeah. So it's also kind of hard. My class is twice a week, and it's 4 hours each day that it's twice a week.
Oh, so it's like a long studio. It's longer than studio, because usually studio, when I look at remembering my schedule, and I have a couple friends that teach, I think it's usually like a 3 hour, but sometimes it's 3 days a week.
Yeah, it's long. That's a lot of talking. It's a lot of drawing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Welcome back. And this next one, I'm jumping here locally to Pittsburgh, and I want to introduce you guys to Sean Sheffler. He was episode number 27. And I grabbed a part of his clip that we really focused on mentorship. I've known Sean for a number of years. And when I was doing my interview with Sean, he was actually our local AIA Pittsburgh president. And so he's been so involved with young professionals growth, the AIA, and then he was finally AIA president. But he's always been a great advocate in making sure he was training, mentoring, and coaching professionals from different angles and making sure that they had the best growth and career possible. So I want to jump to Sean's clip pretty quick, because we dive directly into mentorship about halfway through his episode. But Sean Sheffler was episode number 27. If you want to learn more about his journey, and highly recommend checking it out to talk a little bit more about him taking over leadership positions at the AIA Pittsburgh level, in case it's something you're interested in. But this little clip, I'm going to focus a little bit more on mentorship. So hope you guys enjoy Sean's episode. Shifting gears a little bit more onto mentorship, because I know that is one of your passions.
Yes.
How has mentorship played a role in your career development?
It's a great question, Katelyn, and I'm really glad I saw it on your list here. So when I started working I graduated in, I didn't mention this. I graduated in the year 2000. So I've been practicing architecture for 24 years now. When I graduated and started working, I was in a very large firm. And there was this, whether it was explicit or implicit expectation that you either knew everything or you knew nothing, right? And there wasn't a lot of, in my opinion, time or patience for mentorship or for training or for just helping someone get from step one to step two. If you didn't know automatically right out of the gate what the project manager needed you to do, then you were seen more of a liability than you were anything else. And it's a very humbling thing because none of us, emerge from architecture school fully formed. And I also, it kind of struck a little bit of a chord with me. Also, again, this is a large firm with a significant number of people coming in on a relatively consistent basis. So not too long after I started, there was another crop of young people that started. And I realized looking at them, they didn't know anything more when they graduated and got hired than I did when I graduated and got hired. And if I could step in and maybe be the in-betweener, I could be the person who maybe translated a little bit from the project manager to that new graduate architect, and also from the graduate architect to the project manager. Help them understand each other a little bit better and what the expectation was on both sides. Then I could help not only each individual, but also the project. And what that translated to was mentorship, really. I was trying to help. I was mentoring both up and down, helping staff at both levels understand the other. I became very fascinated with generational cohorts and what makes them tick and what makes them different from one another. I do think that's a little bit cliched, but there's a lot of truth to some of it. And but that was, became a little bit of a hobby or a passion project of mine to understand the traits of different generations. But really, it was just about helping people navigate their careers in an intelligent way and maybe helping them avoid some of the missteps that I might have made when I was in a similar position. The term that gets used a lot is pay it forward, right? So I might have beaten my head off of a certain issue, certain problem, certain idiosyncrasy in the office, but that doesn't mean that you have to. If I can share a little bit of my experience with you, maybe make your path a little bit easier as a result, and then you in turn will maybe help the next person coming up and maybe make their path that much easier for them.
Yeah, and it's communication, because there's so much even that I forget that I didn't know out of school. So I know when I talk to young professionals, I'm like, please let me know if you don't know something or if I accidentally speak in an acronym, because sometimes you're just flying so fast trying to go through a task that you forget what people do or don't know. And I know when I started, I came in already knowing Revit, and there's professionals coming in that don't even know the program. So it's like, oh, okay, I need to back up more than what even I knew then, because of trying to learn what somebody else has learned and where they are. But they may be more technology savvy in other areas that I need to learn. So you can always learn from the next generation.
Right. When I'm working with younger staff, I always tell them, don't allow me to insult your intelligence, right? If you know what I'm telling you, then feel free to cut me off. But I have to explain it. I have to give you the landscape here. And but please don't think that I'm insulting you by expecting that you know nothing. Yeah,
but at least it's better than expecting them to know
assuming
everything.
That they know everything. Yes,
and then it's trust building, because they need to be able to have that trust in you to come and say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Correct. And not feel embarrassed or anything like that.
Correct.
Do you have advice for the more senior staff in the office on mentoring?
Oh, my biggest advice, and I say this a lot, is and I think we've already touched on it a little bit, you have to remember where you were when you were in that position. What did you know and what did you not know? When did you feel empowered and when did you feel belittled? Or and I'm not saying that anybody's perfect, right? Because we all have our difficult days and we all have our good days. But for the most part, it's about trying to build people up and trying to help people succeed and trying to make this profession a little bit better for all of us that practice in it. But there's a concession there too. The concession is it's got to go both ways, right? You are responsible for your own career. You're responsible for your own career path and the decisions that you make along the way. I can help you understand a task. I can help you understand a problem. I can explain to you what that frazzled project manager was trying to say and probably didn't spend enough time explaining. But sooner or later, you've got to take responsibility for the task that you were given, and you've got to do that on your own to the best of your ability if you ever expect to progress in your career.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're not spoon-fed anymore. Like, when you go into the real world, it's a big forest or the big ocean. You can carve whatever path you want, and it's not, here are the classes you're taking, or you have to do one physics, one math, and one whatever, and you pick from a small selection of things. It's an endless sea that you got to take control of there, and nobody's going to do it for you.
Correct.
So.
Correct.
Losing my train of thought on the other question I had. Oh, it was over the years, education in architecture changes, as with the accreditation process. Have you found that change in education over the years difficult for senior leaders to understand what types of skills and strengths that students are coming out with?
Yes and no. Yes, in that the students that we talk to, whether it's at a career fair, summer internships, potential graduate hires, the educational landscape is a lot more holistic now than it was when I was in school and maybe when you were in school. Students are coming out with passions for sustainability, passions for public advocacy, passions for being leaders in their communities. And I because it's the academic landscape that's immersing them in that and giving them opportunities to hone those skills and develop those passions. And I think that's a very healthy thing because you and I both know there's more to this career than just pumping Revit or pumping CAD 40 hours a week. But that is also a component of it, right? We have to produce projects, we have to produce documents, we have to manage the effort during construction. So there are some things that are absolute and universal, but I think where we struggle as a profession, as an industry, is engaging those students and engaging those passions that they have, and not just putting them behind a laptop with the current version of Revit and just letting them go for 40 hours a week. So again, there is a component to that, but there has to be an outlet for those passions that they have. Like if there's a sustainability committee in the office, that new graduate should be a part of it, right? If there's an urban planning project in the office that involves some sort of community outreach, that student might be the person to help develop the questionnaire or lead the outreach effort. And just because they're fresh graduates does not mean that they can't contribute at a very high level. It's incumbent upon firm leadership to find a way to make them feel comfortable plugging in. Yeah,
and learning what their passions are. I've always found if you are passionate on a particular project type or a particular type of client, if you can get those professionals on those projects, they're going to have so much more drive on that project than if you just throw them on something random. And whether that's the full-time job for them or a side project, like you said, if it's just a quick survey, but they can be part of the team to help the team out and still feel part, then it's important. Welcome back. And this time, I want to introduce you guys to Graciela Carrillo. She is an architect that is more on the public sector side, and she was episode number 47. But I wanted to pull out from her clip about starting the Immigrant Architects Coalition and how there are the Latinas in Architecture group as well, and how that organization started to be able to help architects that have been really in a niche group of architects. There aren't that many Latinas in architecture. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but it's very low. And so her inspirational story on not only helping Latinas in architecture, but also immigrants in architecture. I've learned so much from different professionals coming from different countries, and there is no one size fits all, which can make it so frustrating to listen to see what different professionals have to go through. But if you are somebody coming from another country or struggling through the process, reach out to the Immigrant Architects Coalition, check out their podcast to learn more about their stories, because every country and your experience and situation is unique, and they can connect you with professionals that would best suit to be able to help you out with your unique situation, to be able to answer questions you may have along the way. So check out Graciela's little clip. And again, her full episode is number 47. So check out her entire career story and check out the Immigrant Architects Coalition podcast as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this clip. I wanted to shift over to the Immigrant Architects Coalition that you mentioned earlier.
Yay!
So what's the story behind how that started and what you guys are working towards with that?
It's a beautiful story. It started in 2019. Young Law contacted me. He's like, Graciela, and we knew each other because of the Young Architects Forum. I was the representative for New York in 2017 and 18, and he was at large strategic council. At large Young Architect Forum representative. So he contacted me in 2019, so like 2 years after we met at the forum, and he's like, Graciela, I want to put together a session about immigrants for the Vegas conference. How about if we do something? I'm like, let's do it. So we found a third person, Shahaz Sadek. She was based in Dallas at that time. And we were like, let's talk about immigrant architects. So we put together the session, each of us from a very different perspective. Yunlok, he's owner of his own firm. He's in California. I was at that time working in consulting in New York, and I was licensed. And Shaha was an associate at that time and working at Smith Group at that time. So we were talking about licensure, cultural bias, opening your own firm, immigration, a bunch of different topics in 90 minutes. And that session was on a Saturday at like 9 in the morning, where you know that people don't go to those sessions because after the party, everybody's hangover or it's super early. They don't want to go. The room was absolutely packed. We did a poll and 80%, 90% of the room were immigrants. And when we finished the session, you know how everybody leaves? Mm-hmm. No, they stay. They kick us out. They're like, you got to go. We have another session. And they stayed. They were making a line. We have pictures of people lining up to talk to us. So when we left that, we realized there was really that need of that support group. We said, AIA has a lot of support groups, committees, but we don't have an immigrant community per se. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of immigrants, but we're just spread out everywhere. So we said, let's start the Immigrants Architects Coalition just to start the conversation. And we just started very informal by just giving lectures at different chapters, universities, organizations, And it was just that at the beginning. So as we kept talking about our experiences and giving advice to people, more people will come to us for help. Oh, I need help. I can find a job, or I'm miserable in my job, or I'm having issues with immigration. It was different things that we were contacted for. So in 2021, I believe, we were like, why don't we publish a book with different stories? So when people read them, maybe they can find some relation with the same story, and they can contact that person if they're struggling in something in their life. So we did that. We had a bunch of amazing architects, and we call it designers because some of them don't have a license here. They have a license in their own country, but not here. So we call the book City Shapers, Stories of Immigrant Designers. And they are from around the world, and they are also everywhere, like throughout the States. So we started with that book, and we had a really good review from people. They were really excited. We hosted several book signings for that book. And then this year, we decided to create another book, which is the Prospering in the U.S., a handbook for immigrant architects. And that one, what talks about, is like a roadmap since the day you arrive to this country until maybe you're going to open your firm. So it's sort of like advising you on what to do from the beginning. We talk about education, licensure, the importance of getting involved with community and organizations, how to get a job or experiences going to interviews, preparing your resume, portfolio, then also work-related topics, cultural bias too, and then getting your own firm, like opening your own firm. So, and we talk about also marketing. It's like super, super broad, but it talks about everything from an immigrant architect perspective, because of course our experiences are completely different as an American experience. So yeah, no, that book was awesome. We did a book signing at the past AIA 24 in Washington, DC, and we sold out. It was a really great experience. We had 18 book co-authors at that book signing. There are 24 book co-authors in this last book. And from those, we had 18 in Washington. So that was a great experience.
Yeah. And there's so many things that, as somebody who's not an immigrant, there's a lot of stuff that I just check a box whenever I'm filling out different forms that I don't even think twice about it. But then when you can understand people in a different lens, you can understand some of the things that aren't so simple anymore. So I guess from starting a company, do you have to have a green card by that point to start a business in the US and start a firm? Like, what's that barrier?
It all depends. That's the thing. It all depends on where you are doing that. So that's the beauty of this country.
Because it's like, I'm thinking of like, okay, what forms did I fill out when I made MentorDINO a business? And I'm like trying to remember, but anything would have just been like simple checkboxes since I'm from the States. So now I want to like go back and take a look.
Yeah, no, it depends on where you file documents. We incorporated the Immigrant Architects Coalition here in New York State, so it's on my name. So on that form, I don't remember having to check any box that says that I'm a citizen, but you have to have your social security number, and you have to register the incorporation with a tax number too. So it depends of each state. So I cannot tell you what the general rule is. It's like the same as licensure. Like you think that because you're licensed, like in Colombia, you're licensed in Colombia and it's Colombia, not Bogota.
Yeah.
But here you are licensed in New York because it's not the same as Florida or California or any other state. So that's why I say it's the beauty of this country, that each state has its own rules. It's not like a general rule for the country, which most of the countries work like that. It's a general rule for everything.
Yeah. And so I guess that's important for anybody coming over. It's really do the research on maybe a couple states, if there's a few, and just see what your circumstances and what the rules within those states are, to figure out if there's an easier path, I guess, or at least less barriers, less paperwork, bureaucracy that you have to get through to, especially if you're licensed in another country already. Like, I would feel you'd already proved yourself there, that it's like, okay, I have to start over in some sense. And that can be hard.
Yeah. When people contact me and like, what do I need to do to get licensed in the US? I'm like, the first question I do, where? Where are you planning to come? If you don't tell me a specific state, I cannot tell you if your education is going to be validated or not, depending on your license or not. So we need to know where you're planning to go. And also within the states, we have sort of like identify which are the states that are much easier for immigrants to get licensed. So we always tell them, go to Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia apparently is very good in like accepting the foreign architect path for NCARB. I'm sure there are other states that are the same situation. I would like to identify those states so I can have more answers to people. But I think that's a homework that we will have to do internally.
Yeah. And even just where they're coming from. I know I had a great conversation from somebody that came over from Russia, and it was just easier for her to go get her master's in the States, because trying to get all of the paperwork from two countries that aren't really getting along sometimes. So it's, hey, the path I need to take because where I'm coming from, I need to go down this route to make it simpler in that process.
Yeah.
So, and I know you also had scholarship opportunities with the IAC. So how's that been going, adding scholarships to it?
Yeah, so this year we launched our first scholarship for students, for international students specifically. And it was the first time we launched it, and we received an amazing amount of applications. We got almost 50 applications.
All right. This one is the final one. I typically only do 5 professionals, but I couldn't help but to put Karen in here as well. So Karen Herold, she was episode number 52, and she is an interior designer that started her own firm. And I'm pulling out her advice for young professionals as part of this mentorship, because mentorship and growth takes time, energy, and it's not something that you can make happen right away. Sometimes you can try to connect with somebody, and it takes time before you grow that relationship and trust. It takes time to figure out what you want to do in your career. It takes time to make mistakes and learn and grow along the way. And don't be afraid if it takes you a while to figure out what you want to specialize in, or what you want to do, or if you want to pivot out of architecture. It takes time, and you need to learn from yourself. So I pulled out her advice bite clip towards the end, because I just love her acronym for it and how she learned to grow and figure out her passion in the career, and how now she just is free to take that along her way. And she uses that as advice for professionals learning along their career path. So this final clip on the mentorship series is more about advice for you, figuring out your journey along the way, and hopefully it can help you find mentors all around you to be able to help no matter what situation you're in. So this final clip is Karen Herold, and again, episode number 52. And I always like wrapping up my podcast with this final question, and it's, what advice do you have for young professionals just starting their career?
So What my favorite, which I've told many people, including my younger family members, and it's not just for interior design, I think it's for any professional in their career, is I see kind of life in these pockets, like 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. And it's, take that with a grain of salt, but it's just kind of like an era of like what you're doing at that time. And my advice to everyone is in that first period, when you're going to school or you just came out of school, those first 10 years, I see it as that game that's called Connect the Dots. You sit in the back of the car when you're little and you go on vacation and they give you one of the coloring book to keep you quiet for a while. You connect those dots. And I always say in those years between 20 and 30, just put dots. Don't worry. Don't worry about what the dots are, where they are. Just put dots, as many as possible. And what I mean with that is just take a job. It's not perfect, and it will not be perfect, because actually there is no perfect job as far as I'm aware. But just take it and do it. And the only place where you're not going to find it is in your room, right? So go out, take that, shitty library job, or, go babysitting or stand at Starbucks. It doesn't matter. It's about doing, and it's about putting dots. Go to the cocktail receptions. Go on that marathon. Go on a boat with vendors. Whatever it might be, go out there and meet people and do things. Because over time, and in my mind, kind of between 30 and 40, you start connecting those dots. And then right around 40, in that kind of time frame, you'll go like, it's a giraffe. And then it's really fun, because then you can just start embellishing the giraffe. You just have to finish the giraffe, and then you can make him cool, and you can give the giraffe rain boots if you want to. But so that, to me, for the young people, is just trust the process and take your time. Because currently, because of probably how younger kids are raised and the constant instant gratification with cell phones and everything that comes with it, there's this like hurry. And this is like, after 1 year, they ask me if they can get a promotion. And then I'm like, but if you get a promotion every year, that's physically impossible. So it's like there's so much rush in getting somewhere, which I'm not 100% sure if they know where that somewhere is. But there isn't somewhere better. It's just growth and learning more and expanding your horizons and everything that you know and everyone that you know. And so taking your time and actually enjoying the putting up the dots on the page, as many as you can, because there's more to then connect when you're around at 38, or when, I'm not saying you have to wait till 30, you could have them at 28, but just start putting those dots. Don't think about it too much. Don't think about what kind of dots. Do it a lot, and then trust the process that they will start connecting, and at some point you'll recognize what that game is, which just allows you to lean into that time a little bit more and actually enjoy it. Because one of my favorite people in the world, who runs my retreats and is a great mentor and kind of coach to me, he says, remember, these are the good old days. And you forget that, because you think there's something better you're going to, but when you're there, you're going to look back at that time and you're like, wow, that was cool in that first year when I did this, or that second year when we did that. And he advised that to me when I first started my company. And when we were cursing at some IKEA tables we had to assemble, because, it's the only way for us to have a desk. And he's like, just remember, these are the good old days. And it's absolutely true. I look back to those first months with snowstorms and just the 5 of us in a building that was way too big. And we were nervous, and we didn't know if we were ever going to get those clients to afford that building and that IKEA desk. But with the stress that came, there was also this feeling of we're in the beginning of something really interesting. And I would give a lot to sometimes go back to those first few months.
Yeah. And I think that's a great analogy with the dots. Like, as you were explaining, I was just kind of reflecting back on my career, and I'm in my 30s, and I definitely feel like I'm starting to connect the dots. I don't know if it's a giraffe or what yet, but
yeah, but they're connecting. It's going to be something.
But it's definitely different than when I was in my 20s, that I'm just taking shots at the dark, and who knows what's going to stick or what you experience, what you don't want to experience anymore. So no, that's fantastic.
And sometimes you don't see it till later. Like, I look back now in certain things that happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why that thought connected with that. But I had no idea, because at that point it was just a random, seemingly random something, whatever happened, whoever I met or whoever I got in contact with. And then later on, you look back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that number 2 led to number 3, and that's why that turned into number 4. But you would have no idea at number, because with that game, they make on purpose, make you go weird shapes.
Yeah.
So that's my advice for young people, to just take it and do more and think less about it. And there doesn't have to be that much anxiety about what's next.
All right, so this was a long episode. I'm sorry, but I am passionate about mentorship, so I'm not surprised that this one is taking a little bit longer to fill out with the little clips, but I hope it helped you figure out why mentorship isn't so simple and straightforward sometimes, but why it's also so important to why professionals keep telling you to find a mentor, whereas I always say find multiple mentors. So find people to surround yourself with that can help you accelerate your growth. And that is the best advice I can give you, because it's really unique and up to the journey you want to take. And it is okay to start going down a path and figure out that's something you don't want to do. It's actually more helpful when you know what you don't want to do, to be able to make some decisions along your own career journey. But I hope these professionals gave you some good advice. Hopefully you can find some mentors in your office, outside your office, find a local organization that you really have a strong passion for, regardless if it is an AEC type of organization or completely outside the AEC industry. Find those things that light you up and energize you. And as Karen mentioned, just start placing dots. You may not know how they connect yet, but when they start connecting, everything will start to make sense. And you can then take your career, and once you start connecting those dots and see the image it's creating, what type of control that gives you in your career that you can just blaze forward. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode on finding a mentor, and hope you guys have a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. Learn some advice to take with you and see how our industry is all tied together to create the world around us. Check out the description below for any links or resources we discussed. If you liked the episode, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support finding that career path that best works for them. If you know someone that has inspired your own career that you'd like me to interview, let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me via my website or LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share their story or your own. Thank you again, and I cannot wait for the next career story I get to share with you next week.